Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice to Radio. So today, we need to look at another new Sword and Shield deck, which is absolutely cleaning up in Japan. I've told you how Zacian V is looking like it might be the best deck at the moment, along with Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia. That is true, incidentally. And I told you how Morpeko V is proving to be one of the very best decks around at the moment, and that is true, incidentally. Well, ladies and gentlemen, turns out Frosmoth is also pretty gosh darn good. And given that Snom might be my favourite Pokemon from Sword and Shield and he evolves into Frosmoth, I think we're looking fine and dandy. Shout out to the lovely Code64X for hooking us up with the deck list. I think we've got 4 that we can share at the end of the video. So don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be A-OK. It's time to take a look at why Rain Dance is so gosh darn good again. Also, if you haven't noticed, I've started doing a thing in my deck list videos where I'm putting a timestamp in the description. So if you want to jump straight to the deck list, there is a timestamp to do so. Obviously, I'd rather you didn't, but that's your decision, ladies and gentlemen, not mine. So it is all built around Frosmoth that's got the kind of ability that the second we saw it, we thought it was going to be a little bit dumb good. As often as you like, during your turn, you may attach a water energy from your hand to one of your benched water Pokemon. It is the same Rain Dance ability that we've seen on stuff like Blastoise, literally since the base set. Although, not only then, incidentally. Except it's on a stage 1. Now, I am being slightly disingenuous here. It is only to benched water Pokemon, so it's not perfect, but, I mean, look, Electric could only attach to the bench, and now Malamar's a psychic version of it, and that can only attach to the bench. No one's particularly minded either of those. This does, of course, attach from your hand, not from the discard. So, we can basically accelerate infinite energy. We just need a bunch of attackers onto which we accelerate. And one attacker that we see in every single one of the decks is Lapras and Lapras V Max. Which probably shouldn't surprise you. It's huge and hits for great damage. Now, Lapras V is fine, but it's not the most exciting card we've ever seen. Lapras V, for one colourless energy, you attach a water energy from your hand to this Pokemon and then switch it with one of your bench. It's fine, but it's kind of an emergency get out the active attack. 4 energy, 210, return 2 water attached to this Pokemon to your hand. That is phenomenal in this deck. First of all, 210 will get a lot of GXs and Vs. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And secondly, you return the energy to your hand, ready to reattach it with Frosmoth. As for Lapras V Max, 3 water energy minimum, 90 damage plus 30 more for each water attached to this Pokemon. Now, as a side note, if you put 4 water energy on, you do 210, which of course is exactly what you do for 4 energy on Lapras V. Though Lapras V only gives up 2 prizes, not 3, but Lapras V Max has 320 HP. I'll leave that one up to you. The point is that the pair of Lapras and Lapras V Max just give you a huge attack, or a pair of huge attackers, high HP, high damage, and they really are the number one choice. There are a bunch of others that we see, and I'll flick through them now, but make no mistake about it, the number one choice here is Lapras V and Lapras V Max. But let's rock through some of the other ones we've seen. Keldeo GX has a very nice GX attack, 2 water energy, 1 colourless, 50 for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. If they fill up their bench, that's 250 for free energy, that's pretty spectacular. And because you're mostly using Pokemon V here, you will use this GX attack quite a bit. But it's also got an ability which makes it immune to EXs and GXs. A significantly worse ability than it used to be, given that Pokemon V are a thing now, but that doesn't make it a bad ability. It just makes it a worse ability than it used to be. We see Articuno coming in. Articuno's got a nice attack, GX attack again. 1 energy, and it discards all the energy from your opponents. Active Pokemon. or free energy 130 is fine, but it's not terribly exciting. It's not what we're dreaming of when we go to bed at night. Volcanion Prism Star is a particular favourite of mine. You can discard a water energy from your hand and make your opponent switch their active, though they get a choice of what they switch into. And then free water energy, 100 to the active, 20 to each of the bench. If your opponent doesn't take out Volcanion Prism Star, this builds up extremely quickly. Like really quickly. One that we see popping up in quite a few of the decks is actually Palkia GX. Now, there are actually two versions of Palkia GX. Make sure you get the water one. You cannot attach to the dragon one using Frosmoth. And here, it's just piling water energy on. Free colourless energy minimum, 20 damage plus 20 for each water energy attached to it. No, it's not as good as Lapras V Max, but it only gives up 2 prizes rather than 3. But again, we got a really nice GX attack here. 5 water energy, which is huge, but you've got Frosmoth, 150 damage. Shuffle all energy from each of your opponent's Pokemon into their deck. Yeah, that's going to be pretty devastating when you drop it, ladies and gentlemen. That can absolutely wreck a game when you drop it. We also see Blastoise and Piplup popping into a couple of the decks here. Blastoise and Piplup for free energy does 150 damage and lets you attach free water energy from your hand. Now, you might not need to because you've got Frosmoth, but you also get to heal 50 every time you attach an energy. So you attach free energy to 3 different Pokemon, you heal 50 from each. You attach free energy to the same Pokemon, you heal 150 from that Pokemon. And you got a GX attack, which does lots of damage and paralyzes. It's not the best part of the card, if I'm honest with you. Now, we do see one of the decks actually playing Cramorant V. Now, Cramorant V has a nice first attack that lets you search for any 2 cards and put them into your hand. But way more importantly, free colourless energy, you do 160 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon, but you have to discard all your energy. And this is phenomenal for just taking out Jirachi or Dedenne GX on the bench. It's pretty ridiculous, and it's definitely one that I would play here. Now, they're the attackers that we tend to see, but there are some non-attacking Pokemon we need to mention. Fiona pops up in a lot of these decks, and this is popping up in a lot of decks lately. You can put it from the bench to the bottom of your deck, and then you make your opponent switch their active Pokemon. Firstly, makes your opponent switch their active like Volcanion Prism Star does. Secondly, it stops you decking out, because every time you have a turn, you can just put a card under it. Yeah, that's pretty gosh darn good, ladies and gentlemen. That'll work pretty gosh darn nicely. Ditto Prism Star's pretty gosh darned important, given that you are relying on a Stage 1 Pokemon. Playing Ditto Prism Star is key. And while we're talking Stage 1 Pokemon, you don't have to play it, but we do see one of the decks actually plays a Quagsire line here. Quagsire lets you move all your water energy to your active Pokemon, or as much as you like, so you can essentially attach to the bench and then move it to the active. And stop me if you've heard this one before, we see the decks playing Dedenne and one of them playing Jirachi. These are just your cards that give you a little bit of extra speed and a little bit of extra consistency. They're quite nice. And one of the decks actually plays a Drizzile and Inteleon line. Inteleon, when you evolve up into it, you get to search your deck for 2 trainer cards and put them into your hand, and Drizzile has the same ability, though it is 1 trainer rather than 2. It's just a really nice way of adding consistency. Now, it does give you access to Inteleon's attack, which does 120 to the active and 20 to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon for 2 energy, and 160 HP single prize Pokemon is nothing to be sniffed at, but it really is the extra added consistency here which makes all the difference. So they're the Pokemon. In terms of energy, you just play a boatload of energy. Now, to be fair, one of the lists we do actually see playing Weakness Guard Energy. Takes away your weakness. And the great news is that because you're attaching water energy using Frosmoth, You're not using your attachment for the turn, so you can use your attachment for the turn to attach water energy. How cool is that? And weirdly, that same list also plays unit energy. And not because it wants grass energy and not because it wants fire energy. It is purely there because it can be searched out with Guzma and Hala. It's a card we see a lot, lets you search out a stadium tool and a special energy. And we see this more and more as time goes by. People playing special energy like this just to give them an opportunity to search it out using Guzma and Hala. Sounds cool. Now, in terms of trainer cards, we don't need an exhaustive look at all of them, because that might take some time, but a lot of this is pretty much what you would expect. We do see Quick Ball and Evolution Incense coming in as our Pokemon search options. They make these non-GX decks viable. We do still see Pokemon Communication seeing play, but the real message here is that non-GX decks, non-V decks, they're viable again because we've got this really good Pokemon search. Now, in terms of other supporters, tag team supporters, we've mentioned Guzma and Hala. We do see Mallow and Lana seeing play. That's a switch and heal 120. Cynthia and Caitlyn sees play in so many decks. Not just this, but this. Gets a supporter back, lets you draw free cards. And we even see one of them playing Misty and Lorelei, which is just a really nice card that lets you reuse Water GX attacks. Now, the list in question that plays it only actually uses Piplup and Blastoise in terms of GX attacks that are even available, but it lets you search for 5 water energy. And this is a deck that can accelerate as much water energy as it likes from your hand. Oh, look. Look how that worked out. Rather nicely. Fishing Rod sees a bit of play here, helps you to recover your energy and your Pokemon. It's pretty much a slam dunk for being a really, really good inclusion in the deck. We do see Switch Raft coming out in one of the decks. It is a switch that heals 30. It's only for water Pokemon, but you're playing water Pokemon, so it seems like a fairly sensible suggestion. And we do see Balloon seeing a huge amount of play here in like all the decks. And Balloon just reduces your retreat cost by 2, which is good because it means that a lot of your Pokemon get free retreat. Something like Frosmoth, for instance, which we just don't want left in the active, will have its retreat cost from 2 down to 0. And this has actually led one of the decks to play Dawnwing's Necrozma, which has got the ability that lets it jump into the active. And then Balloon gives you free retreats. It's really kind of ridiculously cool. Now, Energy Retrieval has gotten a reprint in Sword and Shield, and Energy Retrieval is really good in this deck. Lets you pick up 2 basic energy from your discard pile and put them into your hand. Well, you can attach as many water energy from your hand as you like, so that makes Energy Retrieval redonkulously good in this particular deck. And make no mistake about it, this is a very good deck. And you should expect to see it at the centre of the format for a while. To flick through the deck list, number 1 here, you've obviously got your Lapras V and V Max, and it plays Caldeo and Articuno, which is kind of cool, plus there's a Switch Raft in there. List number 2 has both Palkia and Volcanion Prism Star, as long as a 2/2 Quagsire line, which is very, very cool. List number 3 here, you've got Blastoise and Piplup, Cramorant V, and this is the one with Dawnwing's Necrozma, as well as a couple Clefairy chucked in to give you a couple extra turns breathing room, and a couple of Giant Charm to give your Pokemon an extra 30 HP. And this is the one that plays a Special Energy and Guzma and Hala. So this is very much a trickier style of list. And then the final one here also plays Palkia and also plays Blastoise and Piplup, but this is the one that plays the 1/2/1 line of Inteleon. It's very, very fun. This deck also plays a Lady, which allows you to search your deck for 4 basic energy and put them in your hand. Really nice for just searching out your basic energy. It's an alternative to Misty and Lorelei. Now, Misty and Lorelei only lets you search free. I think I said 5 earlier in the video. I meant search for free, discard 5 cards to reuse a Water GX attack. But either way, they're nice cards for searching out energy. Get used to it, ladies and gentlemen. This is a deck that does not look like it's going away anytime soon. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, tell me what you think about this deck and how legit you think it is and how much play and love you think it's going to see as we go forward. Go nuts in the comment section, but please remember the rules. Be nice, would you? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about fun games like Transformers and Keyforge and all kinds of fun stuff. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.